The delegation chamber beneath Geneva's mountain vault was a seamless dome of steel and glass, polished to sterile perfection. It was built to impress, not just humans, but whatever might come from beyond Earth. That day, something had. The Zera Coalition representatives stood like glistening obelisks, each one 8 feet tall and wrapped in biometal armor that pulsed faintly with internal heat. Their faces were unreadable masks of dark stone and light. Their voices, filtered through translation emitters, sounded like gravel dragged across wet slate. "We offer Earth our protection," the lead envoy declared, its tone cool, clinical. "It is a dangerous galaxy. You are a fragile people." General Daryl Rafik sat still in his chair, elbows on the polished table, the silver insignia on his collar gleaming under the chamber lights. Protection implies a threat. The Zarek envoy didn't blink. It is not our custom to name potential threats, only to eliminate them. "We didn't ask for protection," Rafik said evenly. "No," the envoy agreed. "You asked nothing. And so we arrived before it was too late." Far from the diplomatic chamber, beyond the eyes of politicians and envoys, for humans lay in the dust of a forgotten desert, still as death. Sniper Team Viper had been deployed under blackout orders. Their official existence was deniable, their mission unknown even to half of Earth's Defense Council. To the rest of the world, they were myth, 4 names whispered beneath the breath of war. Reyes lay prone, his body half covered in sand, the barrel of his suppressed rifle just peeking from beneath the camouflage net. His eyes were fixed on the alien outpost ahead, a clean silver dome flanked by hovering drones and tower-mounted beacons humming with quiet power. He barely moved as the sun dipped lower. "They're still building," Hex said, crouched beneath a slab of sandstone 10 meters away, fingers moving across a handheld terminal. "Pulse towers, not comms. These things radiate hard, subsurface mapping maybe. Might be designed to interfere with kinetic trajectories. They're plotting defense grids," Reyes said. "No," came a whisper from above, calm and precise. "Ghost, they're plotting suppression." Mac, flat on his back near a ridgeline with his .50 cal beside him, let out a slow exhale. "Looks more like invasion prep to me." Reyes didn't respond immediately. His eyes scanned the terrain again, noting movement patterns, drone paths, the way the alien patrols clustered, casual, unconcerned. There was no tension in their formations. They didn't feel threatened. That was the problem. Inside the Geneva chamber, the Zarek envoy continued its pitch. "We have protected 17 emergent species. Their civilizations now flourish under our guidance. We offer the same to humanity." "We have flourished," said one of the diplomats, a woman from Nairobi, her expression unreadable. "Without guidance. Through hardship. Through war. Through our own resilience. And yet here you are," the envoy said, "surrounded by us. Asking nothing, offering nothing. Your hesitation speaks of fear." General Rafik leaned forward slightly. "We've never feared asking questions. So here's one. If there's something out there that needs protecting us from, what is it?" The room fell still. The envoy's light pulses slowed. "You wouldn't understand." "We understand the smell of occupation," Rafik said flatly. A silence lingered just long enough to suggest confirmation. Back in Nevada, the alien construction teams worked swiftly. They moved like engineers, but their steps carried the posture of soldiers. The dome was expanding, the towers humming louder each hour. Hex studied the data bleed from the nearest drone. They're tapping into Earth's infrastructure, not piggybacking, taking over, rerouting satellite feeds, hijacking GPS, reassigning power signatures. Reyes stared through his scope. "They've already decided we're theirs." Max shifted slightly, repositioning his rifle. "You ever hear of someone offering protection without showing you what the threat is?" "Yeah," Reyes said. "Mobsters." They waited as night fell. Drones changed patrol paths. A new Zarek unit emerged, taller, heavier, less elegant. Combat armor, not diplomatic wear. Ghost spoke again, barely audible. "First signs of muscle. Reinforcements. No insignias. These aren't envoys. These are enforcers." Still no official aggression. Hex muttered. Occupation rarely starts with a declaration, Reyes replied. From orbit, another wave of satellites was launched. Earth's atmosphere shimmered slightly as the Zarek devices locked into position, forming a loose net around the planet. Their official purpose, environmental stabilization and weather control. Unofficially, they emitted continuous signal disruption across frequencies used by Earth's military defense grid. Ghost slid silently into Reyes' side and laid down a worn fiber case. Inside was a small hard drive. Intercepted data feed, he said. The Zarek have mapped every population center, every major utility. Water, power, transport comms. They're not trying to protect us. Reyes looked at the case for a moment, then closed it. We were right then, he said. We're the threat they came to eliminate. Mac's voice crackled in. We're not going to sit on our hands if they move, right? Reyes didn't respond right away. He watched the Zarek officer walking along the edge of the dome, inspecting a tall spike-shaped tower with a flat palm. It glowed in response, a dull red ripple that faded into the structure. They don't think we're a threat, Reyes said. That's the only reason we're still breathing. Which means we're invisible, Hex added. No, Reyes corrected. It means we're underestimated. The desert wind picked up, scattering grit across their cloaks and optics. The world smelled dry and ancient, but beneath that, there was a new scent, metallic, unfamiliar, and wrong. Not of Earth, of something imposed. General Rafik stood in the chamber's closing moments, facing the alien envoy one last time. If what's out there truly threatens us, we'll meet it ourselves. But if the threat was always you, then we're already looking down the scope. The Zarek tilted its head. We came in peace. So who does a scalpel? Rafik replied. Until it cuts. The meeting ended with no resolution. No handshake. No accord. Only a long, unspoken promise. In Nevada, Sniper Team Viper watched the lights of the Zarek Dome flicker into a high-frequency pulse. The first true test signal. Mapping depth. Atmospheric distortion. Anti-ballistic calibration. Reyes clicked his safety off. They offer protection, he whispered. From what? Ghost asked. No one answered. Not yet. But the scope was steady and the targets were clear. Nightfall didn't bring rest. It sharpened the senses. In the deep stillness of the Nevada basin, the desert turned cold, the silence wrapping around Team Viper like a second skin. No fires. No lights. Only breath and heartbeat. The world above still shimmered with satellites. Some earthborn, most alien. Reyes lay prone under a broken rock arch, eyes locked behind the scope of his suppressed bolt-action rifle. Each breath timed, each muscle stilled. The digital reticle fed no extra data. He disabled the overlay. He trusted his eye, not artificial vision. Machines could be spoofed. Nerve and patience could not. Got movement, Mac whispered over the encrypted line. 6 Zarek 2 drones. They're doing terrain scans. Closer than last sweep. Reyes adjusted a hair. The silhouettes crept near a dry gully flanked by burned-out mesquite. They weren't on patrol. They were mapping, laying sensor nodes shaped like obsidian thorns. One buzzed softly and burrowed into the ground. They're building a net, Hex muttered from the ridge. EM signature's not active yet, but when it goes hot, it'll light up every vehicle and comm unit like a flare. Ghost's voice came low, cold. They're not shielding. They're hunting in advance. Reyes didn't move. They're not here to help us. They're preparing for something else. A second phase. The idea hung, heavy and unspoken. Earth Command still broadcast calming reports. Alliance talks were proceeding. Trade negotiations looked promising. Cities ran smoothly. But in the dark corners, on the fringes, the truth crept forward like frost over glass. Viper's orders were simple. Stay hidden, gather proof, remain silent. That didn't mean passive. 2 days earlier, Reyes had ordered field triangulation. Hex-rigged seismic monitors hidden beneath sand, tuned not just to footfalls, but to Zarek engine pulses. Mac placed long-range sound traps across 3 valleys, calibrated to isolate plasma weapon discharges from natural echoes. Ghost did the most delicate work, moving through a dried arroyo to wire motion-sensitive trip feeds along the alien supply lines. No one saw him work. No one ever did. They didn't need Earth Command's blessing to confirm what was obvious. The protection mission had nothing to do with defense. It was about occupation, and the Zarek were doing it without raising a single official weapon. Their quiet arrogance worked like a virus, burrowing into Earth's systems and policies, hollowing out resistance from within. Reyes remembered an old phrase his father once muttered during a hunting trip. You don't announce you're about to cage something. You leave the door open and wait. A tremor broke the silence. Low, steady. Hex looked up from his portable interface. Vibration patterns different. Too even for drone patrol. Matt cut in. Visual contact, northwest. Heavy unit. Multi-limb transport class. Looks like a mobile relay base. Reyes watched through his scope as the crawler crested the dune. An insectoid machine the size of a house. Limbs embedding into the sand for stability. No weapons visible. No lights. But its surface shimmered with armor plates that adapted in real time to the terrain color. Ghost, from his shadowed vantage beneath the ridgeline, breathed out slow. Cloaked mobile command. That's not for protection. That's for control. The relay base began releasing pulses. Not visual, subspace compression bursts. Small, silent. But every satellite in Earth orbit aligned in response. Hex tapped the readout and cursed under his breath. They just rerouted our entire orbital comm grid through that thing. Not permission. Override. Reyes closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, there was no hesitation. We flag it. We track it. If command doesn't act, we do. What if we act too late? Mac asked, adjusting his scope to follow the creature-like machine. Then we make noise, Reyes said flatly. And the galaxy learns who the hell we are. The team broke contact at dawn, melting into shadow. Their travel was slower by design. Every movement calculated to leave no trace. Ghillie suits matted with red sand and cactus fibers. Footsteps curved to disrupt tracking algorithms. Movement only in shadow angles. Viper didn't run. They vanished. A new order came in that evening. Not from Earth Command, but hidden through a ghost protocol, an old Cold War frequency reactivated only in existential threats. 3 words. No faith remaining. It was the signal. Earth's black response units had quietly confirmed the Zarek's intent. The politicians would keep smiling, but the masks were off behind a curtain. Reyes stared at the encoded message for a long time. No further detail. No coordination. Just a phrase carved into digital stone. Matt cleaned his bolt, dry and slow. Guess that's as close to a green light as we get. Ghost, kneeling nearby, worked on recalibrating his suppressor. It's not permission. It's acknowledgement. They know. They're just waiting to see who fires first. Hex checked his scans again. New signal uplink detected. They're coordinating off-world now. Faster than light burst relays. Something big is coming. Reyes set his rifle down gently and looked toward the distant hills. His face remained calm, but behind the eyes was something colder than hate. They offered protection, he said. We asked for what? Silence. He turned to the team, voice low but resolute. Turns out the answer is them. The next day, a civilian drone hobbyist in Utah posted video footage online. An enormous shadow, low in the sky, blotting out stars in triangular formation. It was removed in under 10 minutes. The user disappeared within an hour. Earth remained calm. But Viper didn't need headlines. They had eyes. At twilight, Ghost broke position for the first time in hours. He crawled forward to the body of a mountain goat that had triggered one of his traps, skinned and half incinerated by a Zarek perimeter weapon. Not a defensive strike. Not a mistake. A warning. He returned without a word and placed the charred skull on a rock before Reyes. Max stared at it for a moment. That's not a line crossed. That's them pissing on territory. Reyes checked the horizon again through his scope. He could see dust trails, distant movement organized. Drones. Patrols. Not peacekeeping. Corralling. The game had changed. Not in the room. Not in speeches. But out here, where the quiet men watched with patient rifles and refused to be herded. That night, in their final briefing before first contact, Reyes gave no grand speech. He simply said, 1 week. We let them think we're asleep 1 more week. Then we wake up. No one argued. The stars above blinked quietly, unaware of the blood already promised beneath their glow. The first shot was not loud. It whispered across the valley like a rumor, unnoticed by birds, unheard by machines. The Zarek command relay, nestled into the crook of a desert ridge, shuddered once and then failed, its internal systems melting down from the heat spike of a single tungsten core round that punched through its shielding like paper. The sound came a second later, a distant metallic sigh as one of its stabilizers crumpled into the sand. From 4 miles away, Mac blinked once slowly. 1. The confirmation came in a dry whisper. Ghost's voice. Across the planet, at that exact second, 7 other Zarek mobile stations suffered similar accidents. Long-range sniper teams, American, Polish, Kenyan, and Filipino, all coordinated by the same ghost signal. Apex dustfall. No speech. No politics. Just a quiet statement written in ballistic metal. They had crossed the line. On the ridge, Reyes adjusted his position without urgency. His body moved like clockwork, expression blank. He wasn't feeling satisfaction. Not yet. He was calculating next steps. Movement, Hex said from the rocky alcove above them. Zarek patrols splitting. Their comms went blind. They're not broadcasting. Scrambling locally now. Emergency pulses. Reyes scanned to the west. Dust trails bloomed. That's a hunt response. They think it was sabotage. Let them, Ghost said, already moving to his next perch. He blended so completely into the terrain that even the scope drone sweep missed him seconds later. We disappear again. Leave him questions. Mac, however, wasn't in a rush to relocate. He recentered the scope and let his rifle breathe on its bipod. Permission to make them ask louder questions? Reyes didn't answer, but his slow blink was permission enough. The second shot rang a little louder. It severed the leg of a Zarek crawler mid-stride, toppling the behemoth into its own flank unit. Panic erupted. Plasma turrets rotated blindly toward heat that wasn't there. Drones took flight, scanning furiously. There was no follow-up shot. The snipers were already gone. In the alien command chamber orbiting Earth, alarms flared. Zarek generals barked clipped orders, confusion spreading faster than clarity. The interference in Earth's networks had collapsed. Civilian satellites, previously hijacked, were now locked out by emergency protocols. Earth defense had retaken control. How did they bypass our encryption? One officer demanded. They didn't. Another responded, squinting at static readouts. They didn't try. They just cut the wires. There was no declaration. No grand mobilization. Just the abrupt, surgical silencing of every node the Zarek had embedded in Earth's infrastructure. Below, Team Viper reconnected in their predetermined fallback zone, deep within a forgotten stretch of ravine laced with natural rock formations. It wasn't safety. It was delay. Reyes checked his sat map. A Zarek assault squad was likely within 20 minutes. Ghost. Rear grid. You know what to do. The shadow disappeared without a word. Mac broke open his rifle, swapped barrels, and muttered, "Always want to test this load. Finally get to scratch the itch." Hex busied himself rerouting their backup uplink, bouncing it through civilian weather stations and derelict satellites. They're trying to blind our thermal, scrambling every airborne optic. They're scared of what they can't see. That's the point, Reyes said. It wasn't just tactical. It was psychological. The snipers weren't trying to win a battle. They were pulling apart the illusion of control, showing the Zarek that Earth didn't need fleets or orbital stations to bleed them. They just needed eyes, patience, and trigger discipline. The first alien boots landed 10 minutes later. 6 armored figures, accompanied by 3 four-legged recon drones, stalked through the rocks, plasma weapons humming softly. They moved in combat formation, but too rigid, predictable. Ghost's voice crackled over the comms once. They're inside. Then silence. Seconds later, one drone collapsed mid-stride, its core melting from a shaped charge triggered by a strand of synthetic thread and a buried battery. A second drone twitched, rotated, and dropped from a magnetic pulse launched from below the sand. The third tried to retreat, but exploded mid-air, fragmenting into burning metal. The aliens responded instantly, tightening formation, shields up. They still hadn't seen Ghost. Then two of them simply fell. One to a garrote, one to a knife in the eye socket. The last four backed against a boulder, weapons spinning toward shadows, unaware that Mac had a clear shot at the squad leader's exposed helmet node. The shot was surgical. No spray. No mess. 3 aliens remained. They began firing wildly, arcs of superheated plasma tearing through the night. It lit the ravine like artificial lightning, but the humans were already gone. Moved. Repositioned. Recalculating. When it was over, Reyes walked through the aftermath, stepping over sizzling debris. He checked the alien corpses, but didn't linger. Their tech was impressive, but their mindset hadn't changed. They didn't fear what they couldn't understand. Now they would. Later that night, Earth Command sent a burst transmission. Full activation confirmed. All black teams reporting green. Coordination transferring to human defense oversight. Max smirked. They finally caught up. Hex nodded. We're not alone anymore. They're hitting Xeric outposts across 4 continents. Coordinated strikes. Whole grid collapsing. Ghost returned, face smudged with ash. Their morale's breaking. They expected compliance, not resistance. They expected primitives, Reyes said. Now they're bleeding from ghosts. Over the next 48 hours, the Xeric fell back from dozens of positions. Civilian media stayed quiet. Earth's government had enacted full blackout protocols, but in the military circles that mattered, one phrase kept spreading through hush channels and encrypted pings. The snipers woke up. Xeric reinforcements didn't arrive. Instead, the orbiting command ships began reorienting their shields and adjusting course. Not toward aggression, but toward retreat vectors. They hadn't anticipated this level of human response. Not so quickly. Not so precisely. Reyes watched the night sky, saw the faint streaks of something leaving low orbit. Do we follow? X asked. No, Reyes said. We let them go. Mac grunted. They'll come back. Reyes didn't look away from the stars. Good. Let them remember what we did with nothing but patience and a clear shot. He turned away and added, next time they'll aim first. That's when they lose faster. In the deep dark, under the silence of a moonless sky, the team vanished once more. Earth was not protected. It was ready. Dawn broke slow and pale over the Mojave, casting long shadows from the blackened wreckage left behind. The sand, once pristine and silent, now bore deep scorch marks, pockholes, and strange metallic shards still humming with residual alien charge. But no human blood stained the ground. Team Viper had moved through the night like phantoms, and the enemy never got close enough to draw it. The mission had shifted. No longer surveillance. No longer questions. The illusion of diplomacy was shattered. Earth's leadership hadn't made any official declaration, but across command centers and off-grid bunkers, one understanding reigned. Humanity had just survived a quiet war without anyone noticing. Reyes stood alone atop a bluff, his rifle slung across his back, the sunrise warming the cold curve of steel. He watched as the Xeric command ship vanished beyond stratospheric view, its hull trailing defensive chaff instead of fire. A retreat, not a strategic withdrawal, not a feint, a genuine, calculated exit. They had not been defeated in the conventional sense, but they had been shaken. That was enough. Below, Hex sat cross-legged with his data terminal, scanning the airwaves for residual alien pings. Nothing since 0300. No recon flights, no field teams. Last energy pulse logged was an orbital sync aboard. Max sipped stale coffee from a metal thermos, sitting casually with his feet resting on the edge of a broken drone casing. So they finally figured out they're not the apex. They figured out we don't need fleets to be dangerous, Hex said, barely glancing up. They figure out we don't warn, Ghost added from behind, stepping into camp without a sound. None of them had heard his approach, but no one flinched. Reyes turned, nodding once at his arrival. Report. They scorched their landing zones, wiped every trace they could, buried some of their own dead to leave no record. They didn't expect failure, Max said. They didn't expect humans, Reyes replied. The silence stretched. Contemplative, rather than tense. There was no victory celebration, no flag raised, just the knowledge that they'd done what was necessary, and the certainty that it would not be the last time. A communication burst cut across the secure channel. Earth Command. No fluff. No politics. Just facts. Zarek fleet has withdrawn beyond Martian orbit. Command recognizes successful deterrence. Black teams to remain operational in Covert. Earth status. Quiet readiness. Reyes absorbed it in silence. Hex looked up and arched an eyebrow. No medals. No names. Not even an official debrief. Ghost, kneeling to clean his blade, said, "That's how it should be." Mac chuckled. "They offer us protection, and we thank them with silence and tungsten." Poetic. Reyes allowed a small exhale through his nose, his closest approximation of agreement. Then he crouched beside a crumpled shard of Zarek alloy. It shimmered faintly, still warm. What the Zarek had brought to Earth wasn't just ships or tech. It was certainty, arrogance baked into every layer of their structure. They believed themselves unchallenged, unchallengeable. That had made them predictable. But humans were not predictable. Humans survived by defiance. The wind picked up, scattering dust across the cracked rocks. From the northeast, a thin black column of smoke still rose from the disabled relay point, its systems dead, its silence louder than any broadcast. Reyes stood. "We'll relocate. Clean the grid. Dismantle the forward nest." "Any orders after that?" Hex asked. Reyes looked to the horizon, his expression unreadable. "We wait." "For them?" Mac asked. "No," Reyes said. "For whoever they tell next." The real threat wasn't the Zarek. It was the message the Zarek would carry back through the stars, to their councils, their allies, their enemies. That Earth, this backward world full of carbon breathers and crude projectile weapons, wasn't fragile. That Earth's soldiers didn't beg. That Earth didn't need protection. That Earth asked a question and answered it with action. Somewhere beyond the Kuiper Belt, a Zarek warlord would read the report. Somewhere on a distant moon, a traitor would whisper the rumor. And somewhere inside the quiet heart of another alien empire, a ruler would hesitate. Because Earth had ghosts in the sand. Weeks passed. The world resumed its rhythm. Cities buzzed with life. Economies ticked. Skyships drifted silently above the atmosphere. News cycles spun stories of politics and celebrity. The Zarek were never mentioned. Not even once. The operation had no name. No medals. Just empty spaces where names would have gone. But in every high-clearance briefing, in every hushed diplomatic meeting, a phrase began to emerge. No one knew who said it first, but everyone who heard it believed it. "Don't provoke the snipers." Reyes and his team were reassigned, not formally but functionally. No farewell, no transfer orders. They understood. Black Ops didn't retire. They moved sideways, into shadows, into new terrain. The world needed silence more than ever now. The team split into pairs, deployed across continents. Ghost and Mac took the northern corridor. Hex embedded within technical defense assets in South Asia. Reyes remained mobile, unseen, unattached to any one place or command. He lived in the liminal space between missions, observing, listening, calculating. Earth's insurance policy. Late one night, months after the retreat, Reyes stood on the edge of a cliff in Argentina, watching the Southern Cross rise over the mountains. His radio crackled, brief, deliberate. A message came through. Unidentified, fleet sighted. Not Zarek. No formal contact. Response protocols uncertain. Reyes didn't respond right away. He stared into the stars, calm and thoughtful. Then he keyed the mic. "I'll ask again." A pause. Then, "Ask what?" His voice was low, but it carried weight. "From what?" There was no answer. But far beyond Earth, something in the void shifted and waited.